Hello everyone, welcome to Minor Incidents, covering major crimes, season 6, episode 2, entitled Sanctuary City, part 2. This episode was directed by Paul McCrane and written by Kendall Sherwood. Girl power, you go ahead, you go ahead, girl. As I told you last time, we do the case and then we do the personal front. The families of these boys were finally told that Diabetes Boy had died, including his own mother and father. The father was very stoic in that he didn't really show much emotion, and then he was really weird about them trying to figure out for sure, like, if anything was going on other than the blood sugar raising, because they could smell the fruity smell that happens with people with diabetes, where their blood sugar goes sky high, and essentially it's natural causes is what they said was going on with the boy. The father just, I don't know, there's something going on there, and the mother was obviously distraught, went in blaming the other kid's parents. Everything was weird. But it was Diabetes Kid's parents, and then it was Dreamer Kid's parents, and then it was her, like the shady mom. It was her and the priest, Father, I think it's Father Jorge, and he is so shady. Priest, they found out, was moved 6 times in 5 years, which is a red flag automatically. What usually happens in terms of priests moving, being raised Catholic I should say, I kind of know what's what when it comes to that, but what usually happens is that a priest is moved anywhere from 8 to 10 years. Sometimes they last a little longer if the surrounding area is one that they thrive in. Usually anywhere from 8 to 10 years, and they're moved to another parish just to keep things fresh, essentially. So when a priest is moved so many times in so short amount of time, now we didn't find out why he was moved, but obviously they're going to figure that out next time. Abused Kid was when his mother was told, the priest and her just were hugging very sensually in Sharon's office, and they were all like, well, that's weird, right? Like, it's weird. And even Sharon saw it, she's like, not too much happened in terms of the case. The FBI showed up, and what it was for didn't have anything pertaining to the case. It was to get back the $1 million that the LAPD took from Dreamer Kid's parents as a form of evidence. It was to get back to them, which was weird, right? They were pretty shady. Those cops were shady, and I know they weren't necessarily meant to be shady, but I don't know, there's just something weird about them. In particular, there was a male cop who said he had Mexican heritage in him, but then was very antagonistic about it, like, oh, maybe we should threaten deportation. And Sharon's like, how is that going to even help us? Answer, it won't. They took Abused Kid's biological father into custody towards the end of the episode, finally, like, breaking into getting a warrant to go into the house to get him out, showing his wife and his children with said wife that he had something else going on and it wasn't all sunshine and lollipops. The reason why the Abused Kid's dad was brought in was because they finally had some audio evidence showing that Abused Kid's mom thought that he had their son. He, for some reason, had their son. It sounds like that he has taken him before, so she's like begging him to send him back, and that's why they went and got him. Towards the end of the episode, the police also go to get Father Jorge. I'm gonna call him Hot Priest because it's gonna be a lot easier. And they talk to normal priest. They're like, listen, we need to search his room. And the good priest is like, whoa, wait a minute, that's like his personal quarters. Can't just come in here, like, this is our private space. She's like, but we can. And they go in there, it's cleaned out. The priest is gone, and she goes back out to the regular priest. She's like, where's Hot Priest? And he's like, oh, he's left the country. Like, what? That makes you look a lot more guilty, and it makes it look like the Catholic Church is hiding and covering all of this up. Personal side, Sharon and Andy are adorable, and Rusty decides he wants to get a gun. He wants to have a carry and conceal permit, meaning that he'll be able to carry a gun. And he knows the only way he's going to get that is if Andy goes and tells her. Because essentially what happened was a mom's going to say no, so let me go ask dad situation. So he goes, he asks Andy, and Andy's like, oh, you want to get a gun. Like, that's what you want to get a gun. It was a super short scene, but it was a super adorable scene. You could tell there was a lot of stuff that was cut out, especially when it came to Sharon and that priest. Hopefully we get all of that good stuff on the DVDs when they're released, or even in the next episode. But I'm really disappointed that that was not left in. So Andy has pulled through, and he went and told Sharon that what Rusty wants to do, essentially softening the blow. Sharon's like, I don't like it. If you're gonna have a gun, I want you to be properly trained. Good on you, Sharon. That's what I'm talking about. That's responsible gun ownership. She takes him to the shooting range. He's not a very good shot. Rusty now has a gun. He essentially asked Sharon's permission to have it in the house, is what happened. That's why he needed Andy to soften the blow. But it was just very adorable and familiar way in how they went about it. Rusty's still looking at pictures of Gus. I'm so done with the Gus scene. Stop with Gus. The whole relationship was weird to begin with. And everybody was like, wait, what? When it even started. If you're gonna have a storyline with Rusty, have a storyline with Rusty. Have a good one. Don't just make it about him and Gus. Just throwing it out there. Also, I messed up last week and I said this was a 3-parter. It's not. It's a 5-parter. So not only do I dislike that it's more than 1 part, I have to now dislike that it's 5 parts. And they're 4. The story just moves very slowly along, like the inchiest of inchworms, and very, very slowly until it finally ends and the second story starts, which is a 4-parter. What did I like about this episode? I liked Sharon's response to Rusty wanting a gun and having it in her house. And I like that Rusty thought that he should have permission from her to have it in the house in the first place. I thought that was a great scene. It was honest with Sharon. She's like, I don't like that you think you need one. I wish you would have just let security guys like do their job, but I understand why you won't. Like, I get it. I get why you're going on this path. And I just thought it was really nice, and I would have liked to see more of that. I love it when Sharon and Rusty have scenes together. Oh, there was a scene with Wes where he told Camilla, he's like, listen, you gotta let the captain be the captain. He's like, you gotta, don't just start yapping. Let the boss tell you what's on her mind. Let her do her job. I thought that was very sweet. I've been liking Wes more and more, and I like that they're using him more. And not just as like a placeholder kind of thing, but actually using him. Also seeing Camilla step back and be like, make eyes with Wes and be like, oh, that's like, shut up. I also loved all of the scenes with Hobbs. Hobbs Aaliyah, who doesn't love it when Hobbs is there. Her scene up in the murder room where she's just going through like, well, here's what your interview did. It gave us more suspects. And I thought it was hilarious. And I think it was just funnier because of the interview they just had. It was like one where they needed to go in and be very calm and be very conservative about what they're going to ask. Essentially walk him along a path but let him lead the way kind of thing. And they were just like throwing around accusations, doing the exact opposite. And Sharon's like, that's the exact thing I did not want you to do. I think you have Hobbs just cementing it, being like, I had one person of interest and now I have 6. So there's also another great scene with Rusty and Hobbs where Hobbs is like, I don't like teenagers and you were a pain when you were a teenager, but now you're like the best assistant I've ever had and I care for you. Dislikes. I dislike that we didn't really learn anything new about the case, with the exception of abused kid's father being brought in and like the whole phone conversation. But that was literally like 10 minutes out of the entire episode. We still haven't found out what's wrong with Sharon. She was supposed to have gone to her doctor's appointment last week. We still haven't heard anything about that. And I'm wondering if it was a cutscene. Someone's telling me it might have been. The only other thing we found out was that diabetic boy died of ketoacidosis, which is the whole high blood sugar thing, because he wasn't able to regulate it and he therefore died of natural causes. I just feel like other than that and what was going on with Hot Priest, there wasn't much case progression, which I guess you can expect in a 5-part episode, which I still don't like. There was again no Sanchez, which I kind of predicted. I didn't think he'd be back yet, but he is back next episode, which I'm super looking forward to. Ratings. I'm giving this one like a 7. It went down since last week, I know. There just wasn't much that happened in this episode, and it sucked. The episode didn't suck, but not having a lot of information, new information, sucked. It didn't drag. It was a very quick episode, I felt. And they had some really funny quips in it, but like other than that, wasn't much happening. Predictions for next episode. Julio's back, so I'm hoping we get some really nice scenes with him, especially since this case it'll hit close to home for him, especially since his mom just passed away. I really am looking forward to that, and I'm hoping we have more scenes with Rusty and Sharon that have nothing to do with Gus. I don't want all of Rusty's scenes to be about Gus or to include Gus. I don't mind the character of Gus, I just feel like too much of his character is all about Gus. And there's other things that are coming up too, like weddings and stuff, but that's not happening until the 5th episode. I'm not happy that there's 5 episodes. This is a 5-part story. I don't like that. And I don't like if you did 3 parts, I get 3 parts. I get 2 parts. I get 1 part more than the other ones. But having it in 5 parts just means you're going to get probably at least 1 or 2 more stories like this one that don't give a lot of information. Hopefully it gives you more personal information, but it doesn't give you a lot more information about the case. The acting was great. Sharon was great. Sharon and Rusty together were great. Rusty and Andy together were great. Wes and Camilla together were great. Hobbs was always great. Hobbs is always funny. Like, I love Hobbs. Catch me next time time where I'm going to talk about Major Crimes Season 6, Episode 3, entitled Sanctuary City, Part 3. Who didn't see that title coming? Hopefully we get more story. That's my main thing. Let's get more story going. Question of the week. Last week I asked you, was Sharon's illness going to be an issue? Was that going to be something that we should worry about? Nobody really thought it was. And I agree with you. Like, I was worried about it, and they didn't seem to pay too much attention to it this episode. I'm wondering if it's going to come up again next episode, or if it was just something that was cut from this episode, which could very well be the case. So the question for this week, do you think Julio is going to take this case in a whole different way than what Sharon is taking it? So comment down below. I really want to hear what you think about it. Have a great week. You all are beautiful and talented, and I believe in each and every one of you. We're running with it. I forgot to look stuff up. Bear with. I bet you guys didn't even know I like did all this stuff. But I go out of my way to take notes. Not so much about the episode because I like to just run with that. But like other stuff that I try to remember. My allergies are going haywire, so I'm edging closer to closer, sounding like B. Arthur. I mean, my nose is like, hey, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm either gonna be really, really clogged, right? Or I'm just gonna start dripping while you're talking to somebody.